I've often wondered how to reconcile the idea that our emotions offer valuable messages with the idea that EFT assists in reducing and/or releasing these emotional responses. This is what today's video is about. What do I mean by the idea that our emotions offer us valuable messages? You might have heard about the analogy of a car's dashboard. If a red warning light comes on in the car's dashboard, it's probably signaling that there's something that you need to pay attention to. Maybe you need to add more fuel to the car or change the oil or something like that. Therefore, the solution isn't just to turn off that warning light and/or cover it with tape, but to actually pay attention to what it's trying to tell you. The same applies to our emotions. Sometimes our anger is showing us that we have unmet needs or that we are being treated unfairly. Sometimes our fear or anxiety shows us that there's some kind of danger that we need to avoid or anticipate. Our overwhelm can show us that we are trying to tackle too much all at once or that we might need to ask for support. However, the challenge is that sometimes our emotional reactions seem excessive, not just to other people, but to us as well. And they can actually lead us to misinterpret the current situation or circumstances and to blow things out of proportion. I believe that this is so because our emotional reactions tend to have a component that comes from unprocessed stuff from the past. In other words, the past invading or coloring the present. And another component, which is what I mentioned before about a useful message about our current circumstances. How much of each component probably varies depending moment by moment. EFT can help us deal with both aspects, ensuring a more balanced emotional response. So let me share a few examples to make this more understandable. Example number 1. If your romantic partner is treating you in such a way that is not respecting your needs or boundaries, of course it's normal to be angry about that. However, perhaps there's an extra component of anger that comes from your past, because it's triggering the memory of your high school bully treating you like that. Except that in reality, your romantic partner doesn't have an ill intent. He's simply unaware of the effect that his actions have on you. Example number 2. If someone hacks your bank account, of course you're going to be anxious about that. Your economic livelihood is at stake, and you need to do whatever is possible to let the bank and the authorities know and try to recover the money and or decrease the financial uncertainty. That being said, perhaps the anxiety is being magnified because the situation is triggering a past memory of watching your parents go through a bankruptcy after being scammed by their business partner when you were young. Example number 3. If you're feeling overwhelmed with everything that you have to do, perhaps it is indeed overwhelming, and no amount of tapping will fully decrease the feelings of overwhelm until somehow you stop having so many things on your plate. And unfortunately, due to systemic inequities, this isn't always possible for some people. That being said, perhaps the feeling of overwhelm is also being fueled by memories of the past of having felt very overwhelmed before. This is why, even when our emotions seem justified or rational, tapping on them can still be beneficial. Not necessarily to try to make them go away completely, which might be like trying to cover the dashboard's warning light with tape, but to hopefully at least decrease some of the excessive emotional charge that's coming from the past. Sometimes we don't even know beforehand whether our emotional reactions are justified or if we are overreacting. Tapping on them can provide us with more clarity. And we can do this by tapping on the triggering situations directly. We don't need to necessarily go on a wild goose chase trying to find the core issue or things like that. By tapping on recent or future events related to our current emotions, sometimes we might notice that earlier memories come to mind, and we can then decide if we want to tap on them next or not. By doing so, we can alleviate some of the emotional intensity related to our current circumstances or triggers, enabling clearer thoughts and empowering us to act in response to what our emotional dashboard signals. Otherwise, trying to cover the dashboard with tape is akin to gaslighting ourselves or brainwashing ourselves and pretending that everything is okay when perhaps it actually isn't. Now, like I usually say, if dealing with these emotions feels overwhelming, consider enlisting the aid of a certified practitioner like myself or anyone else whose style you resonate with. A trained professional can guide you through this process and tailor the techniques to fit your unique needs and preferences. So that's it for today. I hope that this was useful. If you have any comments or questions, please leave them in the comment section below. And I look forward to seeing you again in one of my next videos.